Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Grate Conversations with me, your host, Dr. Grate. And I am so excited. We are back with talking about reciprocal relationships. We've already talked about honesty and grace, and today we are going to talk about communication, specifically tone and timing. I truly believe that communication is another very important part of having a relationship that feels reciprocal. And before we get into that, I want to give you an exclusive. You'll be the first one to ever hear this, watch this. If you're watching this on YouTube, there is going to be a change coming to Grate Conversations. And if you're thinking, Tangie, what change is that? That change is a name change. So yesterday when I was in my bed, sound asleep, I had a dream that it was time for me to make a name change to the podcast. Grate Conversations was the original name of the podcast that me and my husband had together, and we decided to keep the name because it was easier. It was a play on words. We're having conversations about different topics, but recently in my dream, I realized that this podcast really needs to be called Grate Insights because although I am an expert in one expertise, that field being pharmacy, that's where Dr. Tangie comes from. I have my doctorate of pharmacy, is that I'm giving my insight on things that I truly believe, that I live, that I've seen with my own eyes, that promote living well and living the best life you can in the life that you want in your dream life. So the name change will be Grate Insights. I'm very excited about it. The fact that I still remembered the name, because like how often do you have a dream and it's like you got like a little God wink in the dream, but you can't remember it. But when I woke up first thing this morning, I thought about it and I was like, did I really have a dream about it? And I did. So instead of waiting, thinking, should I change it? I'm not going to wait. I'm going to change the name. So once we wrap up this series on reciprocal relationships, I will be changing the name of my podcast, which I'm very excited about that because I feel like there is this like two big different poles of society when it comes to women. It's like you got the boss girls, and then you have the triad stay at home traditional wife. And I feel like there's a subset of women who are right in the middle. And Instagram, social media can make your dreams feel small if they don't look exactly what they look like online. So I want this podcast to be for the women who maybe you want to work at your local bookstore. Maybe you want to be a barista. Maybe you want to be a manager of a flower shop. That's your perfect dream life. You want to just be able to take vacations. You want to be able to afford to go to a good restaurant. Not vacation like every single month, but maybe twice a year. And a lot of the times, living a regular life gets downside. But my mom says this all the time. It takes hard work to have food, clothes, and shelter. And if you have those three things, you're actually winning. And then to top it off on top, to have some hobbies, because having hobbies is not free. Like that is a life to be proud of. And you shouldn't be made to feel small for either currently living that life or wanting that. Because I think sometimes as high achieving, ambitious women, just women in general, it's really easy to get sidetracked on what you truly want for your dream life. And I feel like for me, once I got crystal clear about what I wanted my dream life to be, not the life that everyone's giving you on social media trying to sell you, but the life that I really wanted to, I was able to find joy in it and live well and curate a life that was just for me, that allows me to rest, that allows me not to be burnt out, that it's just so fulfilling. And I believe that we all have the opportunity to have that life. And that doesn't always equal to a monetary status or, about a money in the bank. And I'm not saying that money doesn't matter. Don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is that I don't want you to feel like your dream is too small if it's just to live a regular life, because living a regular life can be magical, it can be whimsical, and that's what I really want this podcast to represent. I want it to be a place where you can come get actual tangible tools you can do to live well and reduce those cortisol levels, like it's May, it's Women's Health Month, and stress is killing us, it's killing Black women. And everything that I talk about, even though we're talking about reciprocal relationships, last month we talked about like what does it mean to find joy. At the core of it, I am giving you tools that are going to allow you to manage your stress better. And yeah, now that I'm thinking about it in real time, this is like stress management tools. Stress management, managing your emotions, managing your stress. I am not degreed in it. It is just a gift that God has given me, and I'm really good at it. I don't know why I'm really good at it. It's just something that I've always been able to tap into. And so this podcast is giving all my gems, giving all my insights to you so that you can do the same thing. So I'm excited for the name change. Of course, the branding and everything, the colors will stay the same. But anyway, I am rattling. We are going back to communication, and specifically, I have notes this time so I can stay on track. Specifically, let me find them. Timing and tone and why they matter. So I felt like it was a good time for me to tell you about the name change, but really to focus on the communication, specifically timing and tone. I think that we forget about that when we're really passionate about something, or we feel like we really need to let that person know how we feel. And specifically for the women issue, because I mean, like, this podcast is for the girls, it's for the women. And we are menstruators, as I talked about in a previous episode. And I believe that the best time to have hard conversations, if you can, is during your ovulatory phase and not during your menstrual phase. And why I think having a conversation during your ovulatory phase, especially if the conversation is difficult or you're very passionate about it, is because that is when your estrogen is rising. And so you are naturally in a better mood. You're more curious. And I believe you're more understanding. You're able to see things from all sides and not be so critical like in your luteal phase, where the things that you're noticing that's wrong, I think the luteal phase is the perfect time to take note of everything that's wrong that you're not liking, but not make any drastic decisions during your luteal phase. And the ovulation phase is something that the thing that you were thinking about in your luteal phase last month, if it still is at the forefront of your mind, the time to act on it is the following month. And I know that's something that I've been practicing about conversations I want to have with specifically my husband, not so much with my girlfriends, because I feel like there's enough understanding there to where we kind of know how we ebb and flow about things, to where I know not to approach a certain topic with them. But that's another point I want to add on there with timing and tone. Also, I want to throw in understanding. I saw that made me think about a TikTok post I saw for another creator, and she talked about how she doesn't take for granted that all of her relationships have understanding. And I feel like timing, tone, and understanding when it comes to communicating with your friends is the best thing in the world. I feel like the reason why my friendships feel so solid is because we've really mastered timing, tone, and understanding, meaning that there's certain times where it's not, you don't approach a certain topic, or how you say something matters all the time, or like, like your tone of voice. And I hear a lot of women talking about that as far as like when they're talking with their their significant other. But how we talk to, I feel like we don't talk about tone so much with our girlfriends, because there's a level of understanding there. So you may have a girlfriend whose tone of voice may feel like not aggressive, because I hate using that word when describing Black women, but passionate, like very strong. And it's not like, they're trying to come at you. That's just how they talk. And I experience it all the time in the pharmacy, where some of the technicians like, oh, this woman has an attitude. I'm like, she doesn't have an attitude. She's just passionate about what she's saying. That's just her tone of voice. If you actually listen and open your ears and try to get understanding of what she's trying to say, then you won't take it so personal. And yeah, I mean, you have to agree with how she said it, but you can understand. And I feel like that is the same logic or thought process that needs to come with our friendships. Now, back to what I was saying about the ovulatory phase. I think that if we were more mindful of it as women and not just ways to, I don't know, like I feel like a lot of the time we like to use the menstrual cycle to benefit, like very much so for ourselves, very much so self-centered, but it really is the key to everything flowing a little bit better, a little bit easier in your life. And I feel like if there is a hard conversation you need to have with a girlfriend, whatever that is, just try it and see, have it during your ovulation phase and see if it goes better, especially if you feel like understanding is not where it should be in the relationship, or you feel that it's lacking. Try having that conversation during your ovulation phase. You may find that you're more understanding. Now, I do think that if your girlfriend is in her luteal phase and you are in your ovulation phase and understanding is not already established, you may need to like get synced up and figure out when you can have this conversation, because things could go left. Like you could be open, arms open, feeling all the good vibes and everything like that, and your friend could be fighting for her life and she could be very much feel attacked. But I don't know, now I'm thinking about it, you probably still could have the conversation because you will have more capacity to really hear what she's saying and make her feel at ease about what you're trying to say and not shame her or make her feel like a bad person. Because I feel a lot of time communication, especially hard communication, because good communication, easy things, haha, kikis, that don't take a lot of work. It's those conversations you need to have with your friend, like, hey, I feel like you haven't been showing up for me the way I've been showing up for you. Hey, when you said this thing to me, it hurt my feelings. Hey, when you didn't show up to this party and I showed up to your party. And all these sound very petty things, but I feel like in women relationships, reciprocation is very important. And so all these little things that stack up, I feel like if every month, if you're still menstruating, you get an ovulation phase. So what if every month, if there is something in your friendship that you want to improve on, they think that can be better, you just go ahead and attack it then for yourself. And what if we all did that, like as one? What if we all in our girlfriend groups was like, this is something that's kind of been getting under my skin a little bit. Not too much to where I'm saying I don't want to be friends with you anymore, but just something to make it better. We look at our calendar, we have our little calendars, and we go, okay, I'm ovulating on May 22nd. We have a little girls' day planned. Now, I'm not saying have a deep conversation when y'all do y'all regular monthly meetup. This is not Real Housewife of Atlanta, okay? That's not the time to bring it to the table. Okay, we are having fun. It is light. It is fun. It is airy. We're kikiing. That's a conversation that you may need to have with that girlfriend in private and call her on the phone or schedule a FaceTime date. I just want to say that. And I think that will make life worth living even better. I'm not saying that life isn't worth living. What am I trying to say? I may have my husband edit that out. I may have to edit out. But you get what I'm trying to say. We're friends, right? What I'm trying to say is just make life feel much more fuller if we did that. And then especially when we notice that thing, because I feel like during your luteal phase is when you start noticing every little thing, and you want to be critical of every little thing. And sometimes because we're working on our boundaries and telling people how we feel, we need to tell them right then and there. No, maybe take a break. Maybe don't make any sudden decisions during your luteal phase. Wait until you're ovulating again and see how you feel about it when the irritation is less irritation-y. I know I just made up a word, but that's how I feel. And wait until then. It's something that I have been practicing recently, and it's made a big difference in my friendships. I mean, there's a lot of understanding in my close girlfriend sisterhood. I'm only child, so when you become my bestie, we're sisters, you know. And so there is a lot of understanding there. And so back to understanding is that sometimes you have to understand where a person is in their life, and whatever topic you want to approach, even if it's a disagreement, know how to approach it. Because I know there's some things that I do that my girlfriends probably don't agree with, but the best thing that they ever do is like, there is always understanding there, and there's no shame. And I'm going to leave it right there. I'm not going to get too much into for shame, because I really want to talk more about that next week when we talk about accountability. Because sometimes I think accountability and shame get confused, and that's not what we're doing, you know. Like, shame, I hate when people say like we need to bring shame back. Like, I don't think shame did anything but cause people to feel more embarrassed, hide how they feel, not be truthful with themselves, not be truthful with other people. Shame really didn't do anything. Now in the society, do I feel like we could use more accountability? And by we, I say me, of course. But I think there's a way to hold that tension between, you know, being accountable and being understanding, which we'll talk more about that next week. But back to understanding. What understanding looks like, the best way for me to give it an example is to, you know, your best friend. You know that maybe work is kicking her butt right now, and she is fired for her life at work, and she's a mom. Her kids are in that transition phase to where their weird phase, like those tween years, or they're just new kids, and it feels like she's not as she's a little distant, she's not as present when you all are together. I don't think the best way to approach that situation is like, you're doing all this wrong. Actually, I have even more of a personal. I have a personal that I can give about this. The year is 2016, 2016, 2017, and I am on my bachelor trip, which my best friends gave to me. And at this time, my best friend Cynthia, she is a new mom. She's breastfeeding, and this is the first time that she's taking a trip away from her child. Mind you, we're 25, 26 during this time. None of us are parents yet. No one's a wife. We're all new. And she has this new responsibility. Her emotions are different. She's a different person. And on that trip, our level of understanding was in the gutter. Now, mind you, there were some things that she did that were a little bit upsetting, could have seemed a little erratic, but looking back on that now that I'm a mom and I have a better understanding of what that means to be in motherhood, to be in the newborn phases, in the trenches, now that I've experienced myself, I did not have really good understanding for her. Not to excuse some of the things that she did or how she acted, but if I would have had more understanding on that trip, I would have been able to have a better time, because I wouldn't have felt like everything she was doing was like took it so personal. You know, does that make sense what I'm saying? That's the only good thing about when you're on a podcast and you're podcasting by yourself. It's like I'm not getting any feedback and I'm a yapper, so I don't know if what I'm saying is making sense to you. So if we're in this part and you made it this far in this podcast and what I'm saying, you feel it, what I'm saying, you get it, please say it in the comments of the YouTube video and let me know. Leave me a review on Apple Podcasts and let me know you are feeling what I am saying, especially if you are a new mom and you feeling like your friendships are kind of like, they're not really where you want them to be. You don't know how to navigate them because you got this new baby that requires all these things, but you don't want to forget about yourself. And if there was just more understanding during that time, I felt like I could have been a better friend to her. And I actually had to apologize to her about that and say, you know what, during that time, I really wasn't a good friend to you. I could not understand anything about what you were going through. I was just looking at it from my perspective, my lens, and how I felt like you should act it. And I think that's really the key when it comes to understanding, is truly looking at it from the other person's perspective. Now you may not agree with it, but really seeing like, okay, you know what, I can understand how you feel that way. I can understand why you acted like that. And so that was my one moment where I was not really good at understanding. I'm not going to share a good moment about where I did with understanding, because I feel like we all have more moments where our communication and our timing was not the best. And that's okay. The good thing about being human, you can always try it again. You can always do something new. So as we wrap up this episode, I really want you to think about of one thing or one conversation that you had where your communication wasn't the best. Maybe your tone, maybe the timing, maybe there was no understanding there. And I want you to apologize to that person. Even if that conversation happened a year ago, I want you to be like, hey, remember that conversation when I did this and did that thing? I just want to say I'm sorry. I thought about that and I could have handled it better. And you will be amazed at how much lighter you will feel and how you will be able to handle the next conflict even better. One great thing that I am loving this, I know that was a hard transition. I'm going to get better, I promise. One great thing that I am loving right now, I don't know if you can tell, but I have on the Danessa Myricks Beauty Golden Hour Blush. It is the key look to my no makeup look, because right now all I have on is blush and I have a mascara and that's it. Okay, and the skin is skinny. So that's my favorite thing right now. And now we're really wrapping up. Remember, living well does not happen by accident. And I will see you next week.